We're going to look at this video. We're going to look at this video. I accidentally clicked play just as I was bringing the video up, and I heard a statement that chilled me to the core. This is from Mochi. Clairvoyance in Arknights sucks. Okay, let's check it out, guys. See what he's got to say then. I'm ready. My body is ready.
Arknights and Field sucks.
It's true.
Followed it up with that as well. Disgusting.
This is the wrong script. Just give me a second here. Clairvoyance in Arknights sucks.
True.
Okay.
Arknights has an incurable disease.
Let it slide. We'll let it slide.
The fact that Arknights is published by Yoast, the fact that we, the third-class citizens, are 6 months behind the first-class citizens, known as the CN server. And the JP.
Yeah, we are just an afterthought. We do not matter. Peasants in the eyes of the developers.
P1. Also, do notice I said third, because somehow
let's turn it up a little bit.
Further behind us get more in real life events than us. But yes, the 6 month gap is quite the talking point for this community.
I've noticed he's actually getting some pop-ups in across America, yeah. I think they're actually getting some pop-ups. Is it in Seattle, New York, and Los Angeles? I think, right? Am I tripping?
Community. It's a majority opinion being that the 6 month gap is good. But you've seen the title of this video, and I think it sucks. But before we get to why I think it sucks, let's address the reason
I think it's, when it comes to, like, the non-synergy in regards to, like, you know, being behind for global, it depends, doesn't it? Like, it does suck that you don't get the hype, right? It sucks for content creators as well. It sucks for, like, the people for first clears, for, like, doing, like, you know, showing off tech, all that sort of stuff in whatever game it might be. But I think at the same time as well, there's the argument that it can help certain players, especially if you're free to play or a low spender in a game, because you can plan your pulls, can't you? You know the banners that are coming, you know the events that are coming, you know the contents that are coming, and you can plan accordingly. It definitely does lose some of the shine though, doesn't it? Definitely does lose some of the shine.
Majority of people see it as a good thing. Clairvoyance allows free-to-play players to plan their pulls for any future operator. Ensuring that they will have all the necessary pulls to get the operators they want by letting them skip operators that are cringe in their eyes. But my counter to this is that pulling is a skill issue, so just get good. This ability...
Yeah, well, that hurts actually after losing my 50-50 on Ambi and on Cantarella, getting Encore. You know what, chat. That's a skill issue. That's a skill issue. No, I'm joking.
To plan pulls and save, of course, is great for the player base. It makes sure everyone has a better chance to get who they want, and it won't force players to spend any money. Not everyone can pull gamer moves, nor is it realistic to expect people to do so. Clairvoyance, if anything, is probably sold as a quality of life feature. First, you bait people by telling them how the Arknights gacha is so generous, and then people can see 6 months ahead and pull the most meta operators, while hopefully praying for the good rates that Arknights has to get them early, until you don't because it's a gacha game at the end of the day. I agree that Clairvoyance is great for the
get cooked by the system
individual, but just that, the individual. One of my main problems with Clairvoyance, and
that's what I'll say anyway, man. If I ever win a 50-50, skill issue, man, just like get good. You know, this is a true end game. I'm just better. If I lose, then like obviously it's rigged at the end of the day.
Mental effects comes in two parts.
And this is a fact
the individual,
as well.
In this case, me, and two, the community as a whole. For me, I dislike Clairvoyance because it mostly just kills all the hype for anything that is upcoming. There's no feeling like watching one of the CN streams, seeing all this great production and hype with the community all being excited, just to 6 months later feel nothing to the event once it reaches up.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement though. I definitely think that is a thing. And I think as well, you know, for specific holiday events as well, it's weird, isn't it, to be doing like events that are set for something like November, December, Easter, and you're playing them 6 months later. That can feel a bit weird in games as well. Definitely. Again, I think it's a double-edged sword. You can't deny that knowing what's coming allows for better planning if you want to. And it does alleviate the biggest negative side of gacha games, and that is the gacha system. And it allows you to kind of plan your path better, doesn't it? It really does. But then you can't get away from the fact, like I say, that hype's just not there. Holiday events don't fit with the holiday. And yeah, it doesn't have that excitement. If you see someone, you're like, oh, sweet, that's coming next week. You see someone, you're like, well, I guess in 6 months' time, I can get excited for it again. But I suppose what matters to you more, you know, what matters to you more, the hype for the stuff, or actually being able to plan a little bit more efficiently.
Us commoners. It should also be noted that this feeling might be exacerbated by the fact that I have access to a CN account and am able to play new content on release, so it might make it feel worse for me specifically. Luckily though, I am able to lessen this feeling of apathy by doing the lore clears, which you should check out by the way, as it lets me see the event in a slightly different way and lets me appreciate the operators on a gameplay level. While the hype for events I am looking forward to
Man, some of these stages are gorgeous as well. I love some of the stage design in this game. It's insane how a tower defense game can have so much nuance to it and layers to it throughout the game. Then even just little things like this, like they do so many cool looking little stages as well.
Besides quickly, there is a special agony when an event gets released and it does not catch my interest at all. Worse, when 2 mid-events get released within a close time frame. Now, not only do I not have any excitement for a banner, I must live through mid twice since I have 2 accounts. Truly a living.
That is definitely a you problem though. That's what they call, Mr. Polka would say, being greedy and stupid. You know that, we're talking about skill issues, that's definitely a skill issue.
Nightmare for me. In short, the 6-month-long wait is at most tolerable. That sucks all my hype away if the events and operators look exciting enough, to a feeling of disinterest in the game itself, as I know what is upcoming is mid. Luckily, Arknights doesn't miss the mark too often, and less with events in a row.
That's fair.
So
I think I couldn't understand what he's saying there. I think if you're in that position though, where it genuinely puts a downer on the content that's upcoming if you've saw that it's not great, there is a way to fix that. Now you're losing the fact of having that clairvoyance to see what's coming to better prepare yourself. Not watching the stuff, you can avoid it, but then, you know, obviously, you especially as a creator, you want to try and be involved in the culture, so you try and look to the stuff that's going on in Reddit, on trailers, stuff that's going on in CN, all that sort of stuff. But there is ways to avoid that sort of apathy, and that's probably just to avoid the stuff. But like I say, I do get where he's coming from, honestly, because there's other games that obviously do this sort of stuff. And, you know, it's like, again, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? There's positives and there's negatives to it as well. Now, you can emphasize the positives by looking at content, but that also emphasizes the negatives, doesn't it? So it's like, you know, it's either it doesn't matter and you're just playing the game as it is fresh on your Western account and you ignore everything else and you just play it like the game's, it's all brand new, or you look to stuff and learn about stuff and make it better for your account, but you also lose a bit of the edge because you're gonna see content that's coming, aren't you? So you kind of either you get it or you don't, the negatives and all. So it just is what it is, really. It is what it is, really.
This interest doesn't last too long.
Mid-event, you say mid-character because it's a bad character. No, I know. I'm just talking about characters, events, whatever it might be. It's all a double-edged sword because it's all about the positives of being behind is planning, isn't it, really? That's the biggest positive, really, is to know what's coming.
Problem. Firstly, just don't interact with CN news, lolamau, which is easier said than done, as the forbidden fruit of knowledge calls for everyone. And I have a CN account, so yeah. Which leads to the second solution. Just make CN your main account, lolamau, which is a viable option if I didn't make videos for the global community.
That's fair. This is a CC problem, this is. I say this sometimes, like, CCs do sometimes encounter slightly different problems that a normal gamer would encounter. And I feel it, but like, I do see, and I'm not saying this is what, obviously we haven't got into the video just yet, but sometimes CCs will ask for particular things, and I'm just like, that's a CC issue though. We can't expect the 99% to be burdened by the rules of the content creator because you're having to do extra little things for the content. It just comes with the territory of being a content creator. Sometimes things lose the edge that they would have if you wasn't a content creator because it's either your job or it's a hobby that you're spending a lot of time in doing. Again, you can't really blame the game for that. But he's not, you know, dude's coming from a personal point of view, which I totally get, and I'm cool with that.
Position where I both don't truly experience a 6-month wait, and if anything, benefit from it from a video creation standpoint, but still suffer from it nonetheless. Which brings me to the second part of why I think Clairvoyance sucks, the effect on the community.
Okay.
I think it's a right shame that the community seemingly also experiences this loss of hype to some degree. When a new CN event releases, the global community obviously joins in on the fun of being excited or disappointed on whatever is released. Then when that event comes around in 6 months, what should be an exciting time for our community is met with maybe 50% excitement of what it was 6 months ago. The global community doesn't get to theorycraft new operators.
See, like, I don't get that so much personally when it comes to games that are behind, because I'll see the content, I'll get excited about it, and then be like, okay, I can't compartmentalize it, and I'll just wait. I don't then go to ingest massive amounts of content based around it, so that by the time it comes, I kind of already felt like I've vicariously played it through somebody else. So I can be excited for it again. And almost in a sense, it's like I savour it because I've been waiting for it. Almost like, you know, when you see a teaser trailer for a game and you have to wait fucking 2, 3 to 5 or even more years for the, and if you're playing something like Dead Island 2, 10 years later for it to come. But again, I understand where he's coming from. I do.
Or lament the midness.
We can't blame Yo-Star though.
That was all done 6 months ago. Of course, I'm being hyperbolic. That stuff still happens once we get the event, but only to a limited capacity, which brings me to the second half of this problem, the lack of unity due to the wait. It might come as a surprise to those of you who are in tune with the CN side of things, but there is a surprisingly large percentage of players that don't spoil themselves. Those who don't eat the forbidden fruit of knowledge do meet new events and stories with the same excitement that was seen by the other half of the community 6 months ago. But then there's the
fucking missile launchers here, bro. Holy cow.
Half the community is just happy to finally get their operators, while the other half is, you know, actually excited and buzzing about all the new things. And that is the best case scenario. A scenario where the community has mismatched energies, making the release of the event itself feel more just like a normal day than a big thing. In the worst case, those who didn't spoil themselves might be really excited by a new operator, but is met by comments telling them to skip or being told that they're wrong, and 6 months later, there's something way, way better. And we come to the...
I think that, though, that's a problem with any live service game, though, isn't it? There's always going to be mid-patches. You don't even need the clairvoyance to know that something's better's coming along or potentially something worse. And that's just the roll of the dice sometimes when it comes to a live service game, isn't it? That you'll get a patch that's just like, yo, this is just mid. Knowing that something better's coming in 6 months won't change the fact that it doesn't become even more mid because of that for me personally. If anything, it makes that patch more bearable because you're like, well, I know something good's coming, so you could just get through it again. You know, it's 50-50 really.
The crux of the video, and what is really my main problem, that our community is not as united as it could be. Imagine a world where everyone can experience Babel or Lone Trail firsthand, where people from all the servers can come together to theorycraft or express excitement together. You can even see a little bit of this with the currently running SGL 2, where all the servers can come together and be excited about Arknights together and have fun rooting for their regions. Even within our own EN community, I think it would be a delight for everyone to be either salty or excited all at the same time, instead of the current setup being split by those who are knowers and those that are clueless. But
so I think as well, to a degree, with certain games, if you want the game to do well, not every game is at the point on launch that they can be in a global release, can they? You know, there's a lot of games that like will go for the launch domestic, CN, or whatever region they're starting off in. Typically CN, because, you know, usually Western games tend to release a little bit more globally, depending. Not always. It allows for them to launch, start making a bunch of revenue, and then take the risk of going global. Because a different thing for gacha games that I suppose Western games don't suffer from is that they are much more niche in the West. So that extra cost of spending money to launch globally can be a waste for them sometimes and even bite them in the butt because they're making a vast majority of their cash in one particular region. So, you know, it's better that you do end up having that 6 month staggered launch rather than them just being like, you know what, we're just going to have an instant catch up and you guys are missing out on a bunch of potential content because that would be terrible. You know, like you've seen what PG Kuro are doing with PGR now. They're catching up, which comes with its own negative sides as well, doesn't it? Because it becomes a lot of content to try and get through. And it's kind of one of the reasons why I haven't been playing PGR recently, because I've just got so many other games to be playing. It's kind of hard to then play a game that's playing catch up, that's tripled its content every single patch. I think sometimes it's just a necessary evil, isn't it, for certain games?
There is a way for this to be possible. A future that can come to us.
Yes, agree, Linharth. It's good that it's going to be global, yeah. Agree.
Equalizer.
I think it's definitely better if a game is global, all in one go. Let's go, chat. Let's go. I'm so hyped for this game. I'm so hyped, chat. I can't wait.
Arknights Enfield is the great equalizer. Or, at least, it has a good chance of being it. As we saw with the beta, all servers got access at the same time, and the community responded greatly. There was a lot more interaction due to the fact.
I think as well, sorry to keep pausing, I think it can be a benefit for developers. Obviously, the risk situation, like, they've made the money off Arknights now, so they've got a lot more ability to go in, right? Okay, take that out of it, right? It can be a benefit for them to launch globally because you've got a lot more feedback across the world, haven't you? Where even if the majority of your audience is in China, you do want to get as much feedback as possible, don't you, as a developer? And if you are launching early in China, that's the only feedback you're getting, literally 6 for 12 months, right? Or even 18 months for certain games. And, you know, you're getting like one voice in a sense, or a group of particular voices that might not reflect the entirety of everything. So, like, that's going to be a good thing for Enfield as well, because it can be a good thing and a bad thing, I suppose, because a lot of extra voices sometimes can be problematic, can't they? And let's not pretend that sometimes EN does have some wild fucking ideas and not necessarily good for games.
It was new for everyone and not just the CN server. There's a great contrast when you compare it to how the technical test release went. When the technical test was released, it almost felt as if no one really was talking about it within the global side of the community. It was a bit confusing since Enfield had so much anticipation and hype, yet the interaction and engagement felt almost non-existent for a game that seemed like everyone was waiting for. But it makes sense. All that excitement was funneled to the CN release of the tech test, and then once Global got the same version of the game, the impact was not felt as greatly. When the beta was released to all the servers at the same time,
take me back. I just want to play the game again.
Big difference. There was so much more engagement within streams.
I really found the combat so satisfying, dude.
Social media platforms, and even people from other communities that were looking to what this game had to offer. Of course, this also can be attributed to the vast improvement the game got, as well as competent management and advertising by Gryphline. But point is, the game that was greatly anticipated finally felt like people were actually talking.
That's the thing as well now, isn't it, as well? With the global launch, they can't hide behind Yostar for the negative things, you know, because it's Gryphline, which is Hypergryph, so, you know, problems in regards to publishing, advertising, marketing, communication, all that sort of stuff is going to fall on them. They've got the responsibility now, which obviously, again, positive thing because they can react, but also they're not going to be able to, not saying that Hypergryph do hide behind Yostar, but you know what I'm saying.
Talking about it, and that's a very exciting thing to think about. Perhaps with a simultaneous release across all servers, our community could grow, which of course would come with its own sets of benefits and downsides, which I'll be sure to complain about for easy views in the future. Enfield can only benefit from a simultaneous release, and I hope the people at Gryphline see the difference in engagement from a simultaneous release and one that came.
How do you reckon these games are going to do well in the West, guys? Do you reckon it's going to, because I think Enfield's going to do pretty well. I think it, obviously the base building thing might filter a large portion of the people who are just wanting a Genshin Wuthering Waves experience. And then obviously there might be that smaller subsection that get filtered by the way the combat system's going to work. I think this game's going to do quite well in the West, personally. I really do. I feel like it's got the right sort of vibe, you know? The right sort of just, again, it's got that party RPG, action RPG kind of feel to it, which I think will vibe with a lot of Western RPG enjoyers. Now, of course, there's going to be those sort of people who are just like, yeah, nah, gacha, not dealing with that, because there's always those people, and respect that, totally respect that. But I've got positive thoughts for Enfield in regards to the West. I do. I think it's gonna do well. It's definitely gonna carve out a niche. It could do well, but I highly doubt it'll hold a candle to Genshin, sadly. Yeah, to be fair, will we ever see the Genshin effect again? Probably. Is Enfield gonna be that? I don't think so. Will Ananta be that? I don't know either. There was a special thing, obviously, which we all know about, happened with Genshin, is, it had the Rona buff, didn't it? So, that's always a thing that Genshin will benefit from, that hopefully no game ever again will be able to benefit from it. That will break out of the space and break out into the normie verse, because really Genshin is a big factor that brought a lot of Western players into the gacha spaces, and it is. I'm not saying that other Western players didn't play gachas before that, but it was a big factor that brought in more normies and Western gamers as well. But yeah, I think, like you say, I agree. I think it's going to potentially carve out a nice niche in the West that'll do well. It's not going to defeat Mihoyo games, but it's going to have to. Well, that's the thing. I don't think games have to defeat Mihoyo. I know Mihoyo is kind of seen as the boogeyman, but I think we just have to see games stand on their own, don't we? And not be the Genshin killer, the Wuthering Waves killer, the insert this game here killer. It just has to be good on its own and provide for its fan base, doesn't it, as well? As long as they don't let themselves talked into changing the game too much by Hoyo fans, I think it will find its niche and do well. Might not be the top earning game, but it will do well. Yeah, again, it doesn't have to be, does it? So yeah. I do, look at that. Genshin, its own beast, true. Nothing could be a phenomenon as big as Genshin. Yeah, it's just, there was a bunch of things that happened all at once, wasn't there, that just made that something, I suppose, a cultural moment in gaming, right? Genshin had the blowback in China that gave it a lot of pull too. Remember people smashing their PS4s. We probably won't get another Genshin where a lot of people give it a try unless another breakout. Yeah, agree, Jerry, agree. I always remember the times people only know Genshin as a rip-off Breath of the Wild game when it was still in the making. Problem is, for a game to stand on its own, people have to compare it to Hoyo, so you just can't win. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm not averse to comparisons, definitely, because it's going to happen. I don't do it myself. We can't help but compare, can we? It gives us a basis, even when you're talking about food, music, when you think of things, somebody's like, well, explain it to me like I'm 5. You typically will lean into a comparison a lot of the time. Have you tried this? Have you smelt this? Have you heard this? And that's normal. I just mean, like, I think when we attach that label to a game, sometimes it's just bad for the entirety of the community, the game, the developers, everything as well, isn't it? We'll not have to, but it's inevitable. That's true. It is. It is inevitable. It is inevitable.
Came many months after, as well as how it hampers current-day Arknights. At this point, one can only hope that Enfield releases at the same time for all. At the end of the day, no matter how much I wish...
And it is, right? It is. It seems like that's it, because I think that's why they've gone with Griffline, or they've created Griffline, should I say, for the global publishing. Is as far as I'm aware, it's going to be a global launch, right? I will be gutted if it's not. I'm not going to lie, because having to watch the game go out, knowing that people are playing it and I can't play it, I'm going to be sad.
Wish for the 6-month gap to be closed. I understand that I exist in the smallest of minorities with this opinion. Also, the fact that it will never happen in Arknights. 6 months, while possible to close the gap, would be received with way too much backlash from the community. But at the same time, one has just...
That's a question as well. When Arknights launches, right? Let's say Arknights launches. Let's just say it launches this year, just for the conversation, right? I know that's probably unlikely now, but let's just say it launches this year. Yeah, Arknights is out. Arknights has been out, I don't know, 6 to 8 months, right? We hit the 6-month mark on Arknights Enfield, and Griffline turn around. They've had some agreement with Yostar. We're going to do a synergization. We're going to bring Arknights up to parity with the CN servers. What would you guys think about that? Obviously, that would mean, like PGR, you'd potentially see a doubling or tripling of content. So there'd be a lot more content each patch, which would inevitably mean that maybe you might not be able to access everything, especially if you're playing other games. Would you be okay with that? Or would you not be happy to see that happen? Because it was kind of a, there was quite a bit of a divide on PGR where people were like, yes, sweet, I'm okay with that. But there was a lot of like backlash against it as well, where people were like, oh, I don't know if I need this. Content overwhelm. Yeah. My opinion on that, the vids, comments, a mess, a lot of event overlap. You also had plenty of opportunities to catch up at least 3 months over this year, but they just haven't. Like girls who know adults and studying, working and keep playing Genshin like we played last player needs to be given a lot of freebies. Can you repeat the question? I was just saying, basically, you know how PGR is synergizing the catching up with CN? What if Arknights, after the launch of Enfield, right? So we're comparing apples to apples with what's going on with WUA and PGR, that they decided to synergize. So Arknights catches up with CN, Global catches up with CN. Would you be okay with that? You're pressured to play PGR right now, or you're screwed. Exactly. It's kind of why I've stopped playing PGR, because I know, because I play other games and other games outside gacha, and I'm struggling to keep up with everything as well anyway, that I just can't be asked to deal with PGR at the moment. So, you know, I could see it having that problem for a lot of people. I don't have to do regarding limited characters if they tried to catch up. Yeah, it's a difficult thing, isn't it? Planning your pulls is so crucial in Arknights Global. I'd rather they keep the gap. Arknights pull system is brutal without planning. Yeah. Okay. I mean, the reason why they ain't doing catching up is because the players just wouldn't get enough gacha currency for the new character. I think that's what you got to do, haven't you? You got to throw a lot of freebies at people, haven't you? You got to throw a lot of freebies at people. Again, as I say, it burnt me out of PGR because I was just like, I ain't got time for this. No, and not possible, because then you were burning basically all non-CM players, because the schedule is either going to be hectic as fuck or you will have to compensate them. Arknights events don't really give any gacha currency. I wouldn't mind a catch-up, but the event cadence will be brutal. Yeah, agree. I think in that catch-up period, if you wanted to keep up, it'd have to be pretty much your main game, and almost exclusively your main game. Like, I mean, almost exclusively the only game you play to a degree, wouldn't it? Or you just have to be like grinding hard all day long. Well, not all day long, but you know what I mean? It would just be such a time sink, I feel, that just wouldn't feel good personally. And it rushes stuff that you like. Sometimes it's nice to take your time with stuff, isn't it? And even if you could get it done, you'd always feel that candle on your ass burning you to get on with it. Oh, do you want to play a bit of freaking whatever? Do you want to go play a bit of Valorant? Best not. You got some stuff to clear. I wouldn't like that.
Star ever cared about community backlash and feedback. Too many events bunched together will burn many people out, and people will be sad to see their easy saving ways be turned to dust.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting thing to think about. An alternate world where the AK community gets to see and
I think it's too late now, you know. I think it's
together. I'm curious to what
I think to get that excitement of events to be new, I think that's, yeah, it's too much. Again, I was quite surprised that PGR did it after so long, you know? It's a long time to decide to catch up, 5 years down the line? I think it's just a little bit too late now, isn't it? It's been too long, and to then push for a catch-up then. Yeah, I think the negatives outweigh the positives, personally. I understand that for the developer, once it's done, it's probably a little bit easier for them, because they then can just, like, you know, everything's going out at once and they're not dealing with multiple patches at multiple different times and potential bugs and releases and server issues and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, I think, I don't think it'd be a good thing, really, personally, now. That's something that really you need to happen very early on in the game, I think, don't you? But yeah, this was a good video, this was.
Please do let me know if you'd want to close the gap in AK, or even better, do you want Enfield to have a similar gap in its release? Till next time.
No. And that's totally from a selfish point that I want to play the game as soon as it launches. I don't have to wait 6 months, because I will be pissed. I'm not going to lie. I will be pissed. After launch, I don't care. But on launch, nah, I'll be pissed. This is a good video. I think the stuff that he's talking about, fair point, and he even stated himself, this is coming from just my thoughts, and he reflects on the fact that being a CC has led him to a lot of these thoughts, having 2 accounts as well as a factor of it. Yeah, I think I understand where he's coming from. I think having 2 accounts is causing a bit of the problem for him. Being a CC is causing the problem for him as well. But as I say, he sees where he's coming from there. He understands, he reflects on that, he gets it. This is a good video, good question, good conversation to have. Personally, for me, once a game's already out, it doesn't reduce the excitement for content coming. And if anything, the positives potentially might outweigh the negatives. Now, again, for any upcoming games that I want to play, I don't want to see it because I just want to play the game when everybody else is playing the game. But if the game's been out for a few years and I'm coming to it new, don't really care. But yeah. I think, again, like I say, the issues for him are probably a little bit more specific to what he does. But there might be people in the community who feel like that way who are not content creators who don't have 2 accounts as well. But yeah, I'm going to drop not a preemptive, a post like and subscribe to that. That was a good video, man. That was a good video. What do you guys think?